Welcome to the Movie Cheer Podcast, the show for movie fans. I am your host, AP, aka Mr. Movie Cheer, and on today's episode of the Movie Cheer Pod, I'll be looking at the movie Event Horizon that will be celebrating its 25th year after its initial release this year in 2022. It was released in 1997. Event Horizon, if you're not aware, it is a sci-fi, kind of like a sci-fi horror movie from 97. It stars Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill in there as well. And I've watched it, ready for this episode, and I thought, let's do. I like these. We did it last week with the James Bond Dr. No episode. Did it with that episode, and I thought, you know what? Let's do another show. Just focus on one movie. Take it all in one movie, and let's do a big deep dive into that. So that'll be today's headline topic, kind of looking at Event Horizon to discuss whether it is a good movie, whether it's a 90s classic. Is it a 90s sci-fi classic? That's really the ultimate question that will be hopefully answered by the end of this episode. So that's coming up on today's headline topic of the Movie Cheer Pod. But before we get to that segment of the show, the headline topic, every show I start off with a segment called Not So Worthy Blockbuster Housekeeping. If you're new to the show, you're probably wondering, what's this title all about and what is this segment all about? Well, I'll tell you what, the title is absolute nonsense. It means nothing. It came out of nowhere. I don't even know how it started. I don't even know what episode it started on now. But it stuck. It stuck, this title, and it's just a general chit-chat about what's going on with the channel, what's going on here in the Movie Cheer Town community, and just a general easing in discussion for the rest of the show, to get us ready for the rest of the show. It's the warm-up, the build-up for that headline, juicy topic, ladies and gents. So, not so worthy blockbuster housekeeping for this week. What is going on? Let's start off with the latest video on the YouTube channel, the Movie Cheer Podcast YouTube channel. New video came out this week, kind of very similar to the video I put out last week, where I was saying collecting movies become a thing in the past. This week I put out a video, and the topic of discussion was, will going to the cinema become a thing of the past? And again, very similar to last week's video, I had a lot of people getting in the chat and getting in the discussion and getting in the comments. And it was great to see. It's great to see all the interactions with everyone in the Movie Cheer Town community. And it was a really fun video to do as well. I said last week I really enjoyed them topical videos, and really just like, it's like, it's like a thought dump. You've got all these thoughts and things going on in your head, and you're just like, let's get it out in a video. And that I really enjoyed it, just discussing the current state of cinema and the future of what I think cinema will be, and I enjoyed doing that video. So big thank you to everyone who's checked out and commented on that so far. If you've not checked it out, do get it watched, get involved in the discussion. Let me know your thoughts on this topic. What else is going on? Well, I'll say, hopefully, fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed. If you're a regular viewer to the Movie Cheer podcast, you'll know that there is little jingles throughout for certain segments. So I believe there's a jingle now. I say jingles, like little theme songs beginning certain segments of the show. So I've got my notes there. I think it's on movie variant Showdown later on in the show. There is a jingle. That's the one solid jingle, and the Amazon Top 10. So there's two jingles, and these have came into the show maybe over the past few months. And my intention is for every segment to have its own little theme song to gel us into it. And also I can just, when doing live episodes, then it's easy. I can just have a little, that can be my time. Like, I have a 10-20 second jingle. This is where I can, sip my coffee and just have a little chill, catch my breath. And that's the goal. I really do like when I listen to other podcasts and when they have jingles. I do like that. I think it's cool. So I've been out. I got my guitar out this week, my acoustic guitar, and I was playing around with some ideas. And I'm a big wrestling fan, big, huge wrestling fan. So I will say, there is a jingle now for the segment of the show, hopefully coming in today's edit. I mean, I could be just talking This could all be mean nothing. Maybe something goes wrong in the edit and I can't put the audio in. But hopefully, I mean, you can always skip ahead and just check it out now if you want. What's been on the screen, that segment of the show should now have a jingle attached to it, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. So it is, it's kind of inspired by a famous wrestling tag team from like the 80s and 90s in the WWF. And I won't say any more than that, but it's inspired by something. And if you're a wrestling fan, I think you'll probably get it. If you're not a wrestling fan, don't worry. Let me know your thoughts on it anyway. But I had a lot of fun, doing a bit of, I wouldn't say singing on it, but kind of making some loud noises on this intro for what's being on the screen. So that's coming up hopefully on today's show. But let me know your thoughts on it. If you check it out, let me know your thoughts on that jingle if you've heard it, and let me know if you can tell me what the tag team this theme song was inspired by. It's inspired by a wrestling theme song, basically. That's what I'm getting at. Let's see. Anyway, so that's coming up hopefully on later on in the show. What else has been going on in movie cheer time? Well, latest blog post every Wednesday on the on moviecheerpodcast.com. There is a new blog post that goes out. This week's blog post, I wrote a small little blog about the TV show The Boys and 4 potential movie spin-offs that I think it could potentially happen, and I think what would be really good to see happen. So I'm a big fan of The Boys. I've said recently I've caught up with season 3, really enjoyed it, and I thought, I really do think The Boys it's just such a Ben Ryder Rated 18 mentioned this in a post this week. It's like, and I think in the comments, and he mentioned like the characters are just like so like detailed, and the characters are amazing on it. And I said, I agree. That's one of my biggest sells for the show. The characters are amazing, and yes, I watched. I've lost my train of thought. Season 3, I watched that, and I thought, you know what? Let's do a blog post on The Boys and what spin-off movies I would potentially like to see. And yeah, there's four there that I put on paper or put in a blog post anyway, and I feel like they could be solid ideas, and they would be something I'd like to see either in a movie format or in a potential like spin-off TV show. But I think it's a fascinating universe, and I think it's definitely got opportunity on like branches. If it branched out, I think it really could become more bigger, the Boys universe. I really like it. But check out that blog post, and if you're not checked out, check out The Boys season 3. It's amazing. Final bit of things going on. So I mentioned last week, plan of action for the pay-per-view next month will be Movie Cheer Fest, coming up in September, late September. I think it was the 24th, I believe. I'll have to double check that date. There's going to be a few landmark moments, though, and kind of events coming up over the next couple of months, leading up to the end of the year, really. Now, on the podcast, we're about 86 or 87 episodes into the show now, which is awesome. For the 50th show, we had some awesome guests involved, a few different people featured on that episode, and it was so cool. The first collaboration on the channel, and I absolutely enjoyed that 50th episode. And it's been great doing collaborations ever since that as well. It's been amazing. Really enjoyed it. So I think like episode 100, that's going to be coming up soon. I mean, probably like 10, 13 weeks away now, but still, I like to sort of like put certain things in motion. If there's anything you'd like to potentially see discussed on that, I think on that episode of the 50th episode, we did best year in movies. I mean, would you like to see that sort of subject topic again? Let me know your thoughts on episode 100. I mean, like I said, landmark moments and things coming up though. Like I said, Movie Cheer Fest, episode 100, that's going to be coming around the corner. Hopefully, I'm going to put together some sort of Halloween episode. I'd like to get some guests on for a Halloween episode. That'd be cool to do. And on the YouTube channel side of things, I mean, it's getting up to nearly 700 subscribers, which is awesome. Absolutely awesome. Really cool to see that. And as always, I just want to say big thank you to everyone out there for subscribing, for checking out the content, checking out the video, checking out the podcast, getting involved in community as well. Always appreciate it, and it's great to see. But yeah, anyway, that's not so worthy blockbuster housekeeping over for today's show. I'm getting tongue-tied today. It must be the excitement to discuss Event Horizon. But yeah, that is today's housekeeping out of the way. Let's move on to today's headline topic. So, the headline topic of today's show, Event Horizon, celebrating its 25th anniversary this year in 2022, released in 1997. I will just say, before we really get into this topic, there is going to be spoilers ahead for this movie. If you've never watched it before, I don't want to spoil it for you, so I'm going to say spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers ahead, ladies and gents. If you've not watched it, go and check it out first, come back, and then listen to the episode. So spoilers are ahead now. You have been warned. So Event Horizon, movie starring Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill. You've got Jason Isaacs in there as well. Sean Pertwee, a few different names. I knew familiar faces watching this. It's a science fiction horror movie. This movie, and it is. I got to say, this is the first time I've ever watched this movie as well. First time I've ever watched it today. And first time seeing it. I've heard it recently. I've heard it brought up recently, and it's definitely a movie I've heard of before. But maybe it's just something I've heard in passing, like Event Horizon. Never knew anything about it. Never knew the cast. It's just a movie I've kind of heard of and wasn't really aware of what it was all about. So let's talk about the basic plot of this movie. What is going on with Event Horizon? So basic plot really is, it's set in the year 2047, but 7 years earlier. Event Horizon is actually a spaceship. The name of this spaceship is called Event Horizon, and basically, this spaceship in the year 2040 just suddenly goes missing. It suddenly goes missing. It's got a crew on there, a full crew, and it goes missing out of nowhere. 7 years later, you see this ship going on a top secret mission to search and destroy, basically a search and destroy mission to find something in space. And then you see this where you see Sam Neill's character, and his character is called well, I've got the names here. What we've got Sam Neill. His character is Dr. Weir. Lawrence Fishburne's character is Captain Miller. He's the captain of the ship. Dr. Weir, Sam Neill's character, he is going on to Lawrence Fishburne's Captain Miller's ship to advise them basically on the mission ahead, because they don't know what the mission is. And he explains that the Event Horizon ship has turned up out of nowhere, and basically they're going to, board this ship and try and find out if anyone is still alive and see what's going on. And they basically have like a recorded message from the ship where you hear like loads of screaming, and then you hear one guy speaking Latin, and it sounds like at first that he's saying "save us." It turns out he's saying something else like later on in the movie, but it's not "save us." It's like, I think it's like "fear us" or something like that. It's something of that ilk. But so Sam Neill's character, I'm gonna, instead of saying Sam Neill, should I say Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne? I'll say Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne instead of the characters, because I think maybe some people might not connect as much. Right, so it's a 7-year ship, and basically Sam Neill's character then explains to them why this ship has just turned up in the outer reaches of space suddenly. And basically he explains that he is the creator of the ship, he's the main engineer, he created the ship, he designed it. And he designed it, apparently it was designed in top secret to be the fastest spaceship in space, basically. And it's going to be like faster than the speed of light, and they're all like, how can that be? It's not possible and all this. And basically he explains that this ship can open portals and kind of like just go through portals in space and just, cut out all of that travel in time, basically. And that is what seems to have happened here. It's opened a void in space, went through a hole in space, a portal, and it's went to a certain place for 7 years. But where did it go to? I will get to that. So they now board this ship, and they want to, try and investigate what's going on. They board the ship, and it's very much like a haunted ship. It feels like a haunted house. That feel. There's no one in there. They do get in there, and they see a dead body at first, and the body is like just like shatters on the floor once the gravity pull in the ship goes down, and it shatters. It's like it's made out of like glass or ice or something in the body, but it's just disintegrated. The eyes have been taken out of this body. So, there's so much shifty going on this ship. There's blood everywhere on the ship as well in one of the rooms. So there's something not going on right here. And you see some of the characters, Sam Neill's character at first, he starts off the movie before he boards the ship having these hallucinations of his ex-partner who committed suicide, and he keeps hallucinating about her. And when the crew members from this rescue ship, Lawrence Fishburne's crew, go onto the ship, they all start hallucinating things. Like one of the crew members hallucinates about her son back on Earth who's in a wheelchair and he must have had an accident of some sort. And Lawrence Fishburne's character, one of his previous crew members died, and they had fire, they were basically burned alive on a ship in space, and he keeps on seeing this crew member who keeps on haunting him. And all the other crew members keep on, having these hallucinations on this ship. And it's weird. So you're going onto the ship and they're investigating. One of the engineers basically goes into the lower decks, into the engine room of the ship, and you see what Sam Neill's character calls the heart of the ship, the core of the ship. And basically it's like this big metallic thing. It reminds me a bit of Cerebro in the X-Men movies. It's like this big metallic room covered by these like big metal like sharp edges and stuff. It just looks crazy, but it reminded me a lot of Cerebro. But in the middle, you've got this big mechanical device, which is the heart of the ship, and which makes up these portals to go through space and to go into different portals and cut that time in space, do that space travel. And you see early on in the movie, one of the crew members goes, basically something opens up in the core of the ship, and you see this sort of like black hole open up, and this crew member gets pulled through this black hole, and then he comes back later on, and his body's still alive, but he's not communicating. His eyes are open, but there's nothing there. He's just still. And later on in the movie, he wakes up again, but he's kind of like possessed by something, and there was something. He's seen something on the other side, and he keeps on saying the dark on the other side. And it turns out basically the ship has obviously been somewhere for 7 years, and it's been to a dark dimension. And it's kind of very vague on where this is in the universe and who is really living in this dark dimension. But basically there's some sort of evil dark force that has now, from this dark dimension, and has taken the original crew members that were on the ship and has basically taken over the ship. And this dark dimension, this source is from this villainous figure, or this whatever is on the other side, is controlling the ship, and it's kind of like living in the ship and controlling it every way now. It's so bizarre. And so it also now, this dark force is kind of the force that is making everyone hallucinate about these tragic events in their lives, and basically manipulating people to seeing things that are not there. But it's also possessing people as well. And we see this with Sam Neill's character. His character basically, I think because he is the builder of the ship, he's got that close connection to the ship. He becomes possessed over this film, and by the end of it, he kind of becomes the main, like, the sole sort of like host of this monster on the other side, this dark dimension. And by the end of it, he pulls out his own eyes, Sam Neill's character, and he kills people, some of the crew members, and it ends up, basically only 2 or 3 members, I think 3 members survive. They escape it. Lawrence Fishburne's character ends up blowing up the whole ship with Sam Neill's character as well. And it is, like I said, 3 members escape on a little raft. They get out of there, but in the end, it's kind of like, you're kind of thinking, is it really over? Because at the end of the movie, they get away on this raft. They get picked up like 70 days later by this other crew. But then, at the closing segments of the movie, the doors close on this raft spaceship, as if the the control of the ship is still being controlled by whatever had taken over the Event Horizon spaceship, even though that was destroyed in a big explosion. So that is basically the premise of the movie. There's no monster or anything in this movie. It's kind of like a possession movie in space, and that is the real premise of this, from this dark dimension, this dark force that is taking control of people and manipulating them and using their own pasts against them. So let me give you my honest opinion of this movie. What I thought as well, going into this, I thought there's got to be a monster in this. There's got to be some sort of monster. What I was really surprised at, that there wasn't any monster, and it was kind of just like, it's a possession and it's this hallucination factor. And I suppose by the end of it, Sam Neill's character is kind of like the main antagonist of the story, and you see him throughout turning and being controlled by the Event Horizon spaceship and by the dark force from the dark dimension. So you see, obviously, whatever force is coming from that gateway controls his character, and by the end, his character looks like a monster anyway. It's like he's got a shaved head, he's got cuts all over his face, he's got no eyes. It's a pretty graphic sight to see. Honest opinion though, I'm not really a big horror guy. I've said this before. I don't like blood. I think this is a fairly tamed movie. I don't think it is. There's a few jumpy moments, I would say. Definitely a few jumpy moments, but there wasn't any moments where I was like, I can't watch this. I can't watch this at all. It was fairly tame, I would say. It's not like super gory, which is what I enjoy, to be honest, because I can kind of get through a movie now watching it if it's not got any gore in, so that's pretty good for me. I would say I was getting a lot of The Thing vibes, the 80s movie The Thing, John Carpenter's movie. I was getting a lot of vibes from that as well, from this movie. Kind of like it's kind of like The Thing in space, but like The Thing light, really, kind of like a lighter version of The Thing, I would say. Not as good as The Thing, definitely not. But I enjoyed it. It's a fairly short movie, which I enjoyed as well. It's about an hour and a half, this movie. And that's, for me, that's a decent amount of time for a movie. An hour and a half to 2 hours. Anything after that, it's got to be like an Avengers movie, something like that. It's got to be a special movie. But for me, it was a good runtime. It had a fairly good pace to the movie. There wasn't any points where I was bored of the movie. I thought it was an entertaining sci-fi movie to watch. And yeah, I thought it was a decent watch. And for a 25-year-old movie, I thought it was a really good one as well. And what is the thing as well is this had a £60 million budget back in 97, and it only made $42 million at the box office. And it was deemed a commercial flop, basically, this movie. But it is, like certain movies of the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, after a few years, after home releases, it's got this like cult following, and it seems like Event Horizon has kind of got that sort of cult following to it now, and maybe it's kind of like probably, I imagine with home releases, it's kind of built up its budget expenses from the sales of home releases. But I think it was a decent movie to watch. So best and worst moments. Let's talk about some best and worst moments. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think there was any really bad moments in this movie. I didn't. There wasn't any parts of this movie that stood out as being awful. I think the death. Well, one scene. The female crew member. There's one female crew member on this. There's more than one female crew member. But there's one in particular. I can't remember her name, but she's in this medical bay, and she keeps on hearing these noises, and this is where the hallucination factor comes in, and she keeps on hearing these noises. She's in there alone, and she keeps on hearing this, and she walks along, and she sees it's like a bed, a medical bed, but it's got a cover over it, and it's like sort of like a shape, like a big triangle, and she keeps on hearing this noise, and then she sees a hand or something on the other side, like opening this zip, and she takes off this sheet, and she sees her son who's back on Earth, who, like I said, who had an accident, who's in a wheelchair, and she sees all these like legs that have been scarred, and he says, so I think he says, "Mummy." Dead weird. It's like "Mummy," like really creepy. I mean, I'm not doing it justice here, but it was that was one of the moments where that was like a bit of a jumpy moment for me. When Sam Neill's character drags his eyes out as well, that is disgusting. He's hallucinating about his ex-partner committing suicide, which is quite graphic, I suppose. But then I think it's her who's doing it. She's like pushing his eyes out, but he does it in real life, and you see obviously he's like dreaming this hallucination, but then in reality he's just gorging his eyes out, which is pretty a pretty wild sight. And at the end of the movie as well, one movie I like is when they have like the three survivors. The female character, she escapes her pod and she sees this character in a mask, and it turns out it's Sam Neill's character, and he takes off the mask and she just freaks out, and then it turns out she was hallucinating then, and then she wakes up, and then there's actual real people that are rescuing her, but then that's where they have them closing moments where the ship doors close, and it sort of insinuates that maybe things are not all great. But who's going to enjoy this movie? Who's this movie going to appeal to? Like I said, I think if you like movies like The Thing, I think you probably like this. I think as well, I was getting major Aliens vibes, like the Alien movies. Definitely a lot of vibes about that. I would say it's definitely like a cross between Alien and The Thing. This movie, to sum it up for a lot of people. But is this movie a 90s classic movie? Is it a 90s classic sci-fi movie? So you've got some big movies, big sci-fi movies of the 90s. Let me look. Total Recall, Jurassic Park. You could say fantasy, sci-fi, adventure, but let's just say a lot of these are in the sci-fi genre. Total Recall, Jurassic Park, Stargate, Terminator 2, The Matrix. Look, this is 2 years before The Matrix comes out. Lawrence Fishburne then goes on to play Morpheus. Dark City, Starship Troopers, some of my favourite science fiction movies there. I'm sure I'm forgetting some off that list as well. Where would I put it on there? I don't think it's like a top tier science fiction movie. I don't think it's up there with a Matrix or a Total Recall. What I would say, it has got a low budget feel to it at times. It definitely has like a low budget feel. It doesn't feel like a big budget movie for me. At times, it feels like a lot of the sets are like, it feels like it's only set in like maybe one or two locations on the ship. It doesn't feel like a massive ship, even though the ship does look massive on like the outside of it. I would put it on par with like a Dark City. I think Dark City is a good movie, and I think this is a decent movie as well. But I just don't think it's kind of up there with like a Terminator 2, a Jurassic Park, a Total Recall. Starship Troopers, I would say, is for me personally, is a top tier 90s science fiction movie. It's up there with a Terminator 2 because I got a lot of nostalgia for that movie, and I really enjoy it. And maybe I would feel different if I'd watched this in the 90s when it came out. Maybe I would have a lot more nostalgia. I imagine if you'd never watched like the Aliens movies and you watch this first, you'd have like, this would be your Alien movie of the 90s. It would be. But yeah, I think it's got a great cast of characters. I think it's got a decent story throughout. And I think it's good that it's not a monster in a way. It's kind of like, it goes away from them regular traits of let's have a monster in this, like an alien or a predator or some sort of slasher monster. It's it works that they create the monster within them, and basically all the original crew, they all killed themselves. It shows that they're all kind of like killing each other. They were all possessed. And the same thing happened with this crew that tried to, rescue this ship. So, look, Event Horizon. Am I glad I watched it? I am certainly glad I gave it a watch. 25-year-old movie, watching it for the first time today, knew nothing about it, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun, entertaining watch. It wasn't too heavy, wasn't too graphic for me at times. There was a few moments, but nothing too much in there. I think it is definitely a decent 90s science fiction movie for sure. If you like 90s sci-fi, if you like sci-fi in general, it's got a gritty, dark feel to this movie. If you like the Aliens, the Thing movie, this will be right up your street. So check it out. Event Horizon celebrating 25 years. It gets a thumbs up from Mr. Movie Cheer. It's time for the Movie Variant Showdown segment of the show. Are you ready? Movie Variant Showdown. Each and every week, I choose a different representative of a movie property, whether it be a case cover, a movie character, a movie itself, a movie poster, and I put it up against other variants of that representative of a movie property. Now, today, as I said, we're discussing the 25th anniversary of the science fiction horror movie Event Horizon, and I thought, why not? Well, let's go for case covers. I love doing case covers on this show. You know I do. I'm going to look at the different case covers for the movie Event Horizon. So I've got a DVD, I've got some Blu-rays, I've got a 4K. Let's have a look at these covers, these case covers, and let's judge which one is the best, the winner of Movie Variant Showdown. So I'm going to start off first of all with the DVD cover of Event Horizon. This is the 2-disc special edition DVD, and let's have a look at it. So this is it's got a very red feel. You've got the ship here, and then you've got like this image of like a figure in the background, like kind of like a sort of like a silhouette of a body, and this is that body, I believe, is from that scene. Like I said earlier on the show, in the plot, there's like a body that is floating, and it just kind of like its eyes have been gouged out, and it just splatters on the floor when the gravity just falls down. So that's that body. I believe that's a reference to that, unless there's another character that does that sort of pose in the movie. I'm forgetting. But you got the ship there, and you've got the text at the top, Event Horizon, in the white, very big text at the top of the screen. You've got this red color here, and I like this one. I like this. It's kind of very ominous. It doesn't really tell you too much, but it kind of looks like a science fiction movie. It looks like a horror type movie as well. It looks like it's like something weird's going on. It looks like there's some sort of evil threat with that body shape there with the silhouette. And you think, what's going on here? I like the colours. I like the use of the red and going into the black. And I think the text is really good, having that large text at the top of the screen. So yeah, that's the DVD cover. Let's have a look now at the first Blu-ray cover. So I'm looking at this Blu-ray cover here, and it features Sam Neill. It features Lawrence Fishburne on the front cover, the two kind of main lead characters in this. Same text of Event Horizon as the DVD cover here, a bit smaller on this, and now it's went away from them red colours and went for a more of a blue. So you've got the two faces of them two characters, and underneath it says Infinite Space, Infinite Terror. I like that. That's a nice tagline, that. Infinite Space, Infinite Terror. So it's got a blue colour landscape here, a colour palette here. You see like Earth on the back of the... Well, no, I think that's Neptune on the back of the screen, the planet. You see the ship there as well, the Event Horizon ship. And it's very... I think with this, it doesn't really... Whereas the DVD cover kind of, with that body, it kind of... You look at it and you're thinking, oh, something's going on there. With this, it kind of just looks like a basic science fiction movie poster. I think the only thing that kind of gives away that there's something going on here is that infinite terror. It kind of like, oh, yeah, there must be some sort of like terrifying element to this movie. But I do like this cover. This is a hard one to choose between the Blu-ray and the DVD. I think, I'll be honest with you, just for the colour palette here, I think the palette on the blue works a bit better than the DVD red colours. And I think it just pops a bit more. The ship looks a bit more, to me, it just looks like it pops the colours of it. You can see the actual, like the silver and the colours of the spaceship on this one. So for me, I'm going to go with the Blu-ray cover so far. I think it looks just a bit more, I think it just looks more noticeable than the DVD cover. Now let's move on to another Blu-ray cover. So I've got a second Blu-ray cover here, and this is a collector's edition, I believe. And let's talk about it. So this is actually shows the core of the ship, which I talked about, which is a significant part of the movie. The core, where the portal, to this dark dimension in the movie, and basically you see that possessed figure there. That could be any character, I suppose, in this movie. And then you see all of like the other characters like exploring the ship as well. And really, there's not like a real colour landscape to this. I suppose there's a bit of like yellow in there, like looking at like fire, and then you've got a kind of like a silvery, maybe like a bit more blues in there and silver at the top of the screen. Event Horizon, same style of text, same style of font. A lot smaller the font this time, but I still think it's pretty noticeable. I do think this one is kind of like, you're looking at this and you see the body shape and stuff, but I don't know, it doesn't really... It makes no sense if you've not watched this movie and you just see this and you're just like, it's just like a weird pattern on screen. It doesn't look like anything that you'd notice, because you wouldn't know it. This just looks like a big flashing light in the back of the screen, and you don't know really what's going on. So for me, this cover does nothing for me, this case cover. I don't think it's great. So this one is a no-no for me. I think this is below the DVD cover. So the first Blu-ray cover is still the best one for me. Now, let's move on to the final case cover I want to discuss. Now, I will say there is a 25th anniversary Steelbook 4K release that's come out, like a collector's edition. I believe it's sold out on Amazon now. I think it's been hugely popular. But you can get the 4K on its own, which features the same cover in the actual Steelbook. So I think this is actually sold out as well. So it's a hugely popular movie, and a lot of people are wanting to get the 4K. So this is the 4K 25th anniversary standard 4K, not the Steelbook. Let's have a look at this cover. Again, you've got here the text of Event Horizon, very similar to the last text in the actual size of it, but it's in the middle of the screen. It kind of looks like an eyeball here, but this is actually the core of the ship, of the Event Horizon ship, which is again very, a big part of this movie. And then you see all these hands that have kind of been like, they look like really like possessed hands. They look like they've been kind of like through, like, they look like zombie hands going around it, all around screen, all around. I love that. This is great, because this kind of now looks a bit more, it's got like neon colors with the blue, and it's got that sci-fi look with the core of the engine, and with all these hands going around it, kind of feels like a Dawn of the Dead kind of feel to me. So this one looks a bit more enticing. So you've got that standard Blu-ray versus this 4K, and this one is kind of, you look at this, and if I see this in a HMV, I'm thinking, that looks like Event Horizon. It looks a bit like sci-fi maybe, but all them hands going around it. There's some sort of horror element there to it. So I think selling it on that factor, and just looking at these covers, I gotta say, even though I like the one with the two guys, Sam Neill and Lawrence Fishburne on the cover with the ship, I do like this one because it kind of, a big part of this movie, it's like a horror movie. It's a horror movie in space, and this cover, for me, with all these hands, these zombie-like hands going around it, gives that horror feel to me. And this is why today on Movie Variant Showdown, the winner is the standard 4K of the Event Horizon movie. So that is my winner for today's edition of Movie Variant Showdown. Anyway, let's move on with the next segment of today's show. The next segment of today's show is Movies for the Weekend. This is the part of the show where I give you some movie recommendations to watch this weekend. As always, I've got two movies here. I have got, first recommendation, we've got this big movie coming, that has came out now. Have you heard of it? Prey. The prequel to this movie, Predator. Arnold Schwarzenegger in one of his best movies for sure. One of my top 3 Arnold movies. Fantastic movie. I think they've tried to recreate this movie with the reboots, but they cannot top this movie. It's fantastic. That's my first recommendation. The second one is we got Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings TV show coming soon. And I thought, if you're looking for something to watch, The Fellowship of the Ring, the very first Lord of the Rings movie. Such an iconic movie, such a fantastic film to watch. These are my 2 movie recommendations for this weekend, ladies and gents. Now, let's move on to the next part of the show. The Amazon Top 10 is approaching. Prepare yourself. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Amazon Top 10 has arrived. The Amazon Top 10. Every week I look at the best sellers list on amazon.co.uk of 4K, Blu-ray and DVD sales in movies and TV. And let's look at the top 10 list for this week. We start at number 10 with the movie Belfast on DVD. At number 9 we have the Blu-ray of Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. At number 8 we have the Top Gun Maverick 4K Steelbook Blu-ray. So yeah, that's at number 8. That looks pretty cool as well. I've still not seen that movie. At number 7 we have the standard Blu-ray Top Gun Maverick. That's at number 7. At number 6 we have Operation Mincemeat. That's the DVD of that movie at number 6. And number 5 we have the Blu-ray. Sorry, is this the... No, hang on, I do apologise. No, sorry, at number 5, we have the Downton Abbey 2 film collection. That's right, so there must have been the first Downton Abbey movie and now the sequel movie. At number 4, we have the DVD of the Elvis movie, the Elvis biopic. At number 3, we have the Blu-ray of Downton Abbey: A New Era. That's the Blu-ray of that new movie. At number 2, we have the Doctor Who, The Collection, Season 2. That's with one... That's with the original Doctor Who, is it? I always forget that guy's name. I've not got his name here, but that is a limited edition Blu-ray set of the original, I think would it be like the 1960s Doctor Who? Not John Pertwee, is it? Yeah, John Pertwee, or William? Is it William Hartnell or something? I'm not a Doctor Who fan, so I'm not too sure. And number 1, we have Downton Abbey: A New Era on DVD. That, ladies and gents, is the top 10, the Amazon top 10 for this week. Let's move on to the next segment of today's show.
Ooh, what's been on the screen? The screen. What's been on the screen?
What's been on the screen? What's been on the screen this week, ladies and gents? What have I been watching this week? Well, I will tell you. I've been watching, first of all, I want to discuss She-Hulk. The first episode of She-Hulk debuted this week. If you've not watched it, I'm going to probably not... I don't think there's too many spoilers in this, but I would, encourage you to watch it first. So I suppose spoilers ahead for She-Hulk, ladies and gents, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She-Hulk, this new series with the character Jennifer Walters, the cousin of Bruce Banner. Basically, in this TV show, on Disney Plus, we see very early on the origin story of how she becomes She-Hulk, because at first we don't see that. She's just obviously, we just see her as that Jennifer Walters human character. And basically, there's a car accident because a spaceship comes down, they avoid it, and the car goes off the road. And when Bruce he's in his human form, but basically he has a cut on his wrist, and she has a cut as well, and his blood goes into her. She transforms into the She-Hulk, but she doesn't become like in the early Hulk movies where he's kind of like half beast and he can't really control his other side. She hasn't really got that split personality. She is her as She-Hulk and her as Jennifer Walters as well. What did I think about it? I know going into this I was kind of a bit skeptical about the CGI because the trailers didn't look great as well. So the CGI looked a bit, shaky on the trailers, and the trailers I didn't really know what type of show I was going to be watching. So kind of, first of all, I will say it's kind of, from the first episode, I would say it's a comedy show. It's a comedy. Comedy with action, but I would say definitely in the genre of comedy. She breaks the fourth wall a few times, speaks to the audience, and it is, there was some funny moments in it, and I didn't mind it. The CGI, I didn't think it looked as bad as the trailers. There's certainly some moments where I was thinking, God, this looks a bit, it doesn't look great. It looks a bit ropey, but overall, I think maybe they've improved it, or maybe, watching it like a full episode, it wasn't as bad as first initial thoughts watching them trailers. So I wasn't, taken aback by that. But overall, I don't know how I feel. I don't think it's going to be one of my favourite Marvel shows. I probably it's going to be on par with like WandaVision, this one. What really intrigues me about watching this is because it's got Matt Murdock Daredevil in it, and I'm looking forward to see how they put this character into the She-Hulk universe, because his character is, in that Netflix show is very like a dark in tone, very gritty, and this show is very like, very bright and comedy, and so far anyway, after one episode, sure, it could change, it could change after a couple of episodes, it could change into a different style of show, but it looks like it is going to be very much like a legal drama by the end of it. She is in court, and then she reveals, you see, I think it's Titania in it, the villain. She breaks through a wall, and one of her friends must know that she is She-Hulk, and she's like, Hulk up, and then she hulks up, and then takes out Titania, and then reveals, obviously, to the world that she is a Hulk herself. She is She-Hulk. But yeah, I'm interested to watch more of it. I'll definitely give the show a watch, because there's not that many TV shows on at the moment, so I'll definitely give it a watch. And like I said, to see Daredevil, I'm looking forward to seeing how they integrate Daredevil into this show as well. But I don't think it was as bad as I thought it would have been. But equally, it wasn't like over the top brilliant. It was a middle of the road TV show for me, for sure. What else have I been watching? Well, I watched the full trailer for the Wednesday Addams TV show that's coming to Netflix in few months' time. I think it's coming out before the end of the year. It stars Jenny Ortega as Wednesday Addams. It has Catherine Zeta-Jones is in this as Morticia Addams. I didn't realise. So it's going to feature, from this, we kind of get an idea of what the show's going to be about. Her brother, is it Pudsey? Or Pugsley? He is getting bullied at the school they're in by all the lads in the school, and she puts all like these killer fish in the pool that must attack all like the male swim team, and then she gets sent to a school of like, it looks like a school for the gifted, or the school for people who have kind of got like an Addams Family vibe to them. Like, it's like a school for people who've got that horror sort of element to the character. It kind of looks like an Umbrella Academy meets like Xavier, the X-Men school in that. It feels like that, like she goes to that type of school, and then there's obviously something going on there as well. But I like the trailer. I thought it looked fun. I'm looking forward to this. Tim Burton is, he's the guy who's the showrunner for this show, so he's the brains behind it. So that intrigues me as well, because I like Tim Burton's stuff. I think it's going to be fun. I really do think it's going to be good. Jenny Ortega, she was in the more recent Scream movie. I know she didn't have a massive role in that, but she was in that, and I know she has been in a few other horror movies as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's what's been on the screen this past week. But anyway, that is it for today's show, ladies and gents. If you enjoyed today's show, please do give it a like, and check out the rest of the movie-related content on the channel if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to this via a podcast app of your choosing, please do subscribe to the app and leave a review. A 5-star review really does help the podcast to grow, and eventually I will read out all these reviews on the channel, on the show. But let me know all your thoughts on today's episode. Event Horizon, have you watched this movie? What are your thoughts on the movie Event Horizon, celebrating its 25th year this year? And let me know all your thoughts on the rest of today's movie and TV topics. Let me know what you've been watching this past week. What are you intending to watch this coming week as well? Let me know all your thoughts, everyone. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gents. Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer, and as always, I will see you next time.